RRR commentary continues. The Fire. The second title card appears, the fire with warm orange background, just instrumental music and fire sound effects. Important thing to note is that the music is given by the Western instruments. Perhaps it's to reveal the second villain. Absence of vocals could be to indicate that the following scene will not evoke the same intense tragic emotion as the previous scene. There are a lot of people getting hurt in this scene as well, but we are not meant to be emotional over that. We see a wide shot of crowd in a deserted location, just a police station that is said to be on the outskirts of Delhi. A million people are shown in this scene for the purpose, as I said in the previous video, to highlight a character trait or an emotion. So whatever the scene intends to convey, if the crowd is used properly, not just as CGI background, the message will be that more intense. The next part only Indians will understand but needs to be mentioned. It's very satisfying to see that all Indians, irrespective of their faith, are united in a cause. We have differences, we have our problems, but when an evil arises who intends to destroy us, we are or should always be one. It's a subtle message we get through this film without being loud or forced, where the main character gives a monologue speaking of unity. This is how messaging should be in every movie. Subtle. Let the people get to the message rather than forcing your message down their throat. Sadly, even on the side of the enemy, the people we see are Indians. So the situation is slightly more complex than we think. They have their own story, reason to support the enemy. Perhaps they too intend to get high in the enemy ranks and kill them from within, like Raju. But unlike Raju, they don't succeed in their mission. Or perhaps siding with the enemy gives them an opportunity to better life. If not for themselves, then at least for their children. There's no such thing as right or wrong, it's our circumstances that make us do things. All these policemen are scared and intimidated by the huge angry crowd. All but one. The one of our two protagonists. When the crowd tries to break the compound, rest of the frontline guards fall to the ground. Except him. This makes him stand out even before creative camera work is used to focus on him. Without getting clear view of his face, we get a low angle charge-in shot with a strong music. Then we see a shot of flame moving to the side, revealing his calm face, but with fire in his eyes. Here the connection is made that Raju is fire. All these shots are important when the main character is being revealed, not just to highlight their importance but also to tell us who they are, although not entirely. One thing I need to address is that the two protagonists of this film might feel like superheroes who perform superhuman stunts, but that is not what makes them great. This film shows them very flesh and blood humans that get severely injured during every fight. But it's their strong will that makes them get up and keep walking towards their goal. This strong will is their superpower. Raju actually talks about it in form of reciting a Bhagavad Gita verse later in the film. A lesson we all should apply to our life. Same thing we saw in the last two Avengers movies. It's the willpower that decides who wins. In Infinity War, Thanos had a strong will to balance the universe. The heroes were in their prime shape and were fighting Thanos, but weren't entirely clear why. They just knew that if they didn't, a lot of people will die. Hence, despite Thanos not being at his best fighting capacity, he won. On the other hand, in Endgame, the 2014 Thanos was strong, more powerful, and a better fighter, but he lacked a clear purpose, wisdom, and mainly the willpower for his cause. At the same time, Avengers, having lost so much, were very determined that they want to win despite not being in their best shape. I wonder what is going through Raju's mind at that very moment. All he must be thinking is how he can use this opportunity to become a special officer. If the objective is to disperse the angry crowd, That is not going to be possible by randomly targeting everyone. Raju is waiting for a doable command, the right opportunity to shine. If he's going to play, he'll play to win. When a guy from the crowd throws a rock at Scott's photo frame, the superiors call to bring that man to him. This is doable, and so Raju immediately jumps into action. Before action, they silently try to indicate that he works for the enemy, with a shot of him with the Britain flag. Then, when he takes off his cap and keeps it, we see the crown on it and the specific kind of music that plays in his presence. This is to show that at least initially he is not on our side. Raju literally jumps into action in a very unrealistic way. This is the first hint for the audience to expect the unexpected when it comes to stunts. Rather than disappointing those people who are engaged in the story during climax by showing stunts they hate because they find it unrealistic, we see him do impossible things in the beginning itself so that we know what to expect. If someone doesn't like that, then they can stop watching now. In this action, we see the best use of crowd. Raju finds himself surrounded by hundreds of people, and it does feel 100 as he starts beating left and right. Even though Raju is on the wrong side, the camera focuses on him. We see him struggle. It's not an easy task to catch one guy in a crowd of million. There are people constantly hitting him, stopping him from moving forward. The best shot of the scene is when all the surrounding people pile onto Raju and he throws them back. We have seen this before in other movies, but never a shot from hero's perspective. When someone hits Raju with a rock on his head, suddenly the crowd goes silent. It sounds as if he's inside a room. They are suffocating him. His superior's command echoes. It's at this point any normal officer would have given up, but not someone on a mission. We see him get out of it, one man at a time. Certainly, Raju is a superman to do that, but it's not easy for him. The problem with current superhero films is that the hero might be fighting for the last 15 minutes, but their appearance is as if they just got out of makeup room. Even if some blood and bruises are shown, it's mostly cosmetic. Their injuries don't feel real, and hence there are no stakes because we know the heroes will win. The scene takes its time for Raju to reach his target and bring him back. We might not agree with Raju's actions, but he certainly earns our respect by putting a lot of effort in achieving his immediate goal. At the same time, reactions are very important. Like the British officer didn't expect someone to jump into an angry mob to get a man. We see fear in his eyes not for Raju but from Raju. It's a built up leading to the high point when he says his line at the end of this scene. Another interesting bit is foreshadowing actions that we see across the film. Like Raju climbing a watchtower in this scene foreshadows what they do in the climax. Fire helps Raju whenever he is in danger. We see that in this scene, the pre-interval scene, and in the final climax, just as how water helps Bhim. When Raju returns, his uniform is torn in places, bloodied, and is exhausted. He has cuts, bruises, and struggles to walk. Still, he has steely-eyed focus on his main goal. All the shots in this scene don't just inform but emote as well, most of the times without saying a word. Like initially the mob was angry, but for them Raju was insignificant. Now, even though he is on the other side of the compound, people are scared of him. Still, can one man disperse a crowd of million? I don't think so. Most likely people went away because the sun was setting and they were far from home. Once the mob is gone, comes the high point of this scene. Usually it is said that death scenes of main characters are emotional, but that's not accurate. The funeral scenes are more emotional when other characters react to the death of person they cared for. Similarly, the high point of this scene isn't Raju staring blankly at a dispersing crowd. Rather, it is the conversation between the two white officers. That mob, I was scared out of my wits, sir. He scares me more. The senior officer is correct to say that. Right now, Raju is on their side, but the day he decides to switch sides, it will be the end of British Raj. Perhaps that is why, despite his heroic act, Raju is not selected to be a special officer. He overdid his duty. During the award ceremony, we meet Raju's accomplice. He just enters the scene, quietly watches the ceremony from distance, and then goes away. His presence in this scene was not required, but he is there, which is the speciality of RRR. This film tries to convey as much information and emotion as possible without talking about it. This is why the foreign audience understands the story without knowing the local language. There is no over reliance on subtitles. And then there is the shirtless training montage. It's essential for every action hero. As a matter of fact, I'll provide a link to the video showing how the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a shirtless scene of every superhero they introduced in the first 3 phases. They stopped doing that since phase 4 for understandable reasons, and that is why MCU is failing. Raju's training montage is a lot similar to what Steve Rogers does in The Avengers. What makes these scenes better is that the action is infused with intense emotion. I think we all should have a punching bag to relieve the day's stress. Subscribe.